friends. We're back. Your favorite podcast of the week. It's Location Weekly. It's episode number 602, and we are recording on January the 10th. Brianna, how are you doing?
Hanging in there, this year is interesting already, and we're only a couple weeks in, right? But still have some things to look forward to, including some big birthdays coming up in the next week. I think you have one. My husband has one. You guys share an awesome day on the 20th, so
we do.
Everybody send some birthday love over to Steve. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm focusing on the celebrations coming along. How are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, it's been all right, and I'm looking forward to being in New York next week for NRF and seeing you before that birthday happens. So that would be good. Excited about that, and just what's going to be happening at NRF. So, should be good times.
Yes, we're definitely going to have a pregame birthday party here in the city for you.
There you go. All righty. Okay, well, let's just jump right into our show for this week. 4 stories as usual. I'll let Brianna kick us off with, I think, an interesting one.
Yeah, DoorDash is starting off the year with a new product launch, and they are getting into the package pickup business. So this is a feature now that consumers can request a return. So a driver can be sent out for a prepaid UPS, USPS, or FedEx package, and then return those to a designated location. So the service is costing $5, $3 if you have Dash Pass subscription. And, this is interesting because we're seeing that maybe there's been a little bit of a decline in some of these delivery services in terms of like what their, I would say like what their valuations have been as of recently. And so I think they're trying to figure out, well, what else can we do? Where else can we go and expand? And this is obviously an area that can be a challenge in the industry at times. There's some other industry players that we're also seeing get into this. Amazon recently announced that it was making box-free returns available across a range of locations. And we also saw Walmart that announced some curbside returns and return pickups from home as well. So I think this is interesting. I do feel like this is a great service offering because we all know that it can be a pain to get these things returned at times, right? Like getting something out, having to drop off. But, specifically, maybe if you're like in a city or trying to find where the nearest location is, can sometimes be far. And right after the holidays, right? Like everybody's got some clothes that didn't fit or something they want to exchange. So I like this. I think that this is still very true to what DoorDash's mission and vision is of their business. So I think it's very in line and in keeping with the services and that they've traditionally offered and expanding upon that. But I think it's a good avenue. I don't think it's going to be like a massive revenue generator for them, but I do think that it's something that's a little extra. So, and I feel like as a consumer, a lot of us are willing to pay, $5 to $10 to get that return out the door, depending on what it is. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a valuable service. I think the timing is great right after the holidays, of course, when people have stuff. I have an item I received for Christmas with a gift receipt, and like literally it's been sitting in my car for like 7 days as I drive, around the city and back and forth to work or whatever, and I haven't had the time to do it. So, so I totally get that. I think, there's a lot of value. I think the price point is reasonable. And I think, for me, it's one of those things too, where like, how do you promote this? Right. I think if you're buying online, if you're shopping online, right, then, if they can integrate this service into retailer websites, where it's part of the, sort of promotion of, buy this thing online, return in, within 30 days, DoorDash, if you have a DoorDash account, link it up. Then I think there could be an interesting, potentially loyalty data play as well for the retailers and to kind of gather information from a DoorDash point of view that could be useful as well. And that's, I don't think is part of this currently, but I think there is an interesting data play to look at, what's happening with these returns and who's kind of, signing up for that, as part of the service, and tying that back to, the purchasing data and things like that as well. So could be interesting, but I like it overall.
There you go.
Okay, on to our second story now. So A number of packaged goods brands have been kind of looking at ways to support or give better access to folks who are blind or have low vision or visually impaired when they're out shopping in grocery stores and places that carry their products. And in particular, the Kellogg company, the cereal company, is looking to change that. So in the US, there are 12 million adults who are blind or have low vision, and performing daily tasks such as navigating a grocery store aisle or choosing, one cereal over another can be a challenge. And so they have teamed up, Kellogg that is, with a company called NaviLens, and they're incorporating their technology into their packaging. They're starting with 4 cereal brands, the iconic ones: Kellogg's Corn Flakes, Special K, Rice Krispies, and Crispix. So very, very popular brands. And essentially what will happen is on the boxes themselves are printed these special NaviLens optical smart codes, which is made up of a very high contrast, colorful square, kind of like a QR code, if you will. But the background is black, and then it's got like this high contrast color in it. And they're designed to work with the NaviLens app, which folks who are dealing with these issues have and are aware of. And one of the cool things about it, unlike a QR code where you have to go up and scan it, with the camera app on your phone, if you have the NaviLens app on your phone, it's able to pick up these NaviLens codes, these optical smart codes, from quite a distance away. So up to like several feet away. Doesn't have to even be a direct, sort of front-on view. You can pick it up from angles. And so, it can pick up the thing, then it can give you sort of like, clearer directions on, where to walk to get that. You can hear the names of the products, how to navigate to them, the size of the packaging, like, portions size, what size box it is, nutritional information, all of that, and in 36 languages too. So I think this is incredible. Like, applaud, brands like Kellogg's for jumping on this and doing these kinds of things. And they're not the only ones doing it. I read another story as I was researching this one that Coca-Cola in the UK and Great Britain over Christmas launched NaviLens on their multi-packs of products on the cardboard casing, around the packages, the 12 packs or 24 packs or whatever of Coke products, with the same technology. So it's really cool. And like I said, you can pick up these codes from up to 4 meters away, just through an angular view of the app picking it up. So incredibly powerful technology, incredibly helpful technology. I think this is great. Any thoughts?
No, I like this trend that we've been seeing. I feel like over, the past probably year, we've reported on several different features and rollouts that are helping hearing impaired, visually impaired, or challenged, people be able to just have access to normal things. We talked about like WaveMap with DC Metro and being able to navigate the, public transportation system. And so I like that more and more brands and consumer brands specifically are thinking about how can they reach a broader audience. And, I feel like at some point we're going to see perhaps a standard when it comes to any type of labeling or packaging or wayfinding that's kind of laid out and hopefully followed so that there's some consistency across all of this. And I feel like that's an opportunity for, somebody to kind of go in and like create that standard, just like we have standards and other packaging and advertising for, other probably like more marketing focused reasons. Now maybe we'll have something for access reasons. So it's a great story. It's something that's needed. And I think that like we're just kind of laying the foundation and we have a lot to look forward to and probably more to report on in the
no, I completely agree with your standards comment, because there are a lot of other technologies out there. I know Microsoft's playing in this space. I know a company called Locatify I did some work with a little while ago is using ultra wideband technologies inside of buildings, to help with visually impaired navigation. So there's lots of ways to go about this problem, but I like the simplicity of this packaging solution.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's go over to more of a data-centric story, and back to sort of marketing and advertising at its roots here. And a new partnership has been announced with Meta, and that is the likes of IRI. If you're not familiar with IRI, IRI provides consumer data goods at a local level. So this is for like how brands are selling, and really can tie the impact of any digital advertising to specific in-store purchase behavior. So, you know, marketers now that are using Meta's Facebook and Instagram platforms can have access to this brand and product level sales as results of their campaigns. You know, and this is through IRI's, it's called ANSA measurement solution. So they have this repository of product level sales data across retailers, and that is obviously localized as well. So the software can provide that hyper level targeting from maybe an audience kind of targeting, segmentation, recommendation, and optimization feature based on the campaign parameters, but it could also help with measurement as well. So, you know, I think this has been a challenge to date. I think CPG is a very big challenge because you can, you know, there's been ways that we've talked about for years on how marketers and advertisers are able to, you know, locally segment and measure footfall traffic, for example, but tying it to a specific product. For example, I go into a CVS and I buy a specific beauty brand, or I go into a grocer and I buy a specific brand of milk or cheese or something like that, right? It's very difficult to do. We've also seen recently that retailers are starting to monetize their sales data. I know we talked about that a little bit in a few stories, or, you know, a few weeks ago with one of our stories, but these media networks that are offering these advertising options as well. So we're continuing to see growth in first party data, and that becoming more important, obviously, with cookieless future. And I think that there was a drastic impact to Facebook marketing when it came, well, prior to it being Meta, when it was Facebook marketing, that it was highly impacted with the changes that iOS made, right, with tracking and all of that. So this is one of those things that they're starting to implement. I think the biggest shock for me, honestly, is that Meta is just now integrating with IRI. I feel like this has been a standard, and many, you know, many DSPs, many advertising companies that have been doing this digitally have been integrated with IRI for a long time. So I think that was my shock here. Not that this is really new, it's not a new offering, but just more that this is just now rolling out. But obviously, like anything that you can track and measure, I feel like being able to prove that your marketing dollars and the budget that you're spending digitally works is increasingly important. That's a big trend that's happening with marketers and advertisers, and they have to be held accountable. And so they have to hold accountable those systems that they're using. So this is just another one of those, you know, measurement and targeting features that I feel is necessary to be able to do that.
I got nothing to add to that. I think you're like 1,000% bang on. Like it's absolutely what the industry needs. I'm also surprised that it's taken so long, but I do think like more and more now, like the privacy changes that you alluded to there, what we've talked about, you know, ad nauseum for the last year and a bit, what's coming with Google's changes now. It just means that, you know, we need to rely, you know, the weighting has to be totally different, right? And rely much more on purchase behavior data and other things to tie this back and look for, you know, those linkages between the advertising and the sales. So totally agree. All right, final story now. So we're going to talk about Unilever now, and specifically their ice cream business, and some interesting things that they're doing around helping the retailers that are selling their products deal with you know, inventory and restocking. And so they've launched this new tool, and it's called Ice Cream ERTM, or Electronic Route to Market, where retailers can order stock, transfer payment electronically, monitor the selling of their stock, and then integrate that with browsing, you know, offers and discounts, sort of all tied together. And so the idea here is to streamline the sort of whole process from what's on the shelf and what's being sold, you know, whether that's in a smart freezer or a regular freezer or what have you, right back to, you know, having, you know, sort of real-time ordering and fulfillment, and getting those shelves restocked quickly. And, you know, like there's times, you know, where, you know, you walk into a grocery store and, you hit the ice cream aisle and everything's sold out, or they had a promotion on and it's all gone. And it's, and it takes them like, 3-4 days, at least here anyways, before they've restocked those shelves. And so, they're potentially missing out on, all sorts of additional sales and revenue by not being able to, fulfill that quickly, and understanding what the stock levels are and how that's tied to discounts and promotions and things like that. So the app provides real-time sort of data insights on the transactions, on the sales. It highlights, obviously, because it has that data, which products are selling faster than others, and kind of showing the trends of what's happening that way. And so there's a lot of data around this. It also has some functionality built in that connects and uses WhatsApp tied into the app, that where the staff can send messages and prompts to restock core products or send recommendations for stock levels directly to the fulfillment centers and things like that. Interesting that they didn't build their own messaging functionality. They just integrated WhatsApp functionality into this app, which I think is super cool. Why build what already exists? And lastly, that I want to touch on, there's a number of other features in their platform around the smart freezers that some of their retailers are using that have automatically throwing out data and information and alerts this way. But one piece in their Latin American operations for Unilever, they're using location data, where their customers can set a distance for warehouse distribution. And so they ran this sort of pilot where they had 1,200 retail partners. They can make orders through a virtual sales rep, using the WhatsApp messaging piece. And then once the order is placed, a team at the distribution center can prepare it in 60 minutes and then deliver it, in like special cooling backpacks, and get that to the store within 4 hours to ensure that they're restocked that quickly. So it's not just about the information flow, it's also about like the fulfillment and getting that, in a timely fashion. And they say in the pilot, as a result, sales increased by 25% due to increased frequency of delivery and drop size. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to add of this. I think that, like, at the end of the day, you're like, it's ice cream, but to think about, well, where can this expand to? And again, I guess this will minimize the amount of times I would be able to tell my kids, like, oh, so sorry, they're out. I guess we're gonna have to reel that sugar craving back in.
The excuse is gone.
Yeah, that's too bad. But I think that what's really cool about this too is that I do like that they're using WhatsApp specifically. I think that it's culturally appropriate because of the adoption rate of WhatsApp in Latin America. And it's so widely used and adopted. And I do think that, there is mass adoption here in the States, but certainly like in Latin America, it is widely used. And so again, as you mentioned, like just not recreating the wheel, not building your own way to exchange information, but using what's already widely adopted, widely used, and not having to reteach anybody any systems, I think is like a really great feature that they wrapped into this in terms of how they rolled it out. So I'd like to see how else this could be adopted and used for restocking.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating, and I can see a lot of other retailers and packaged goods companies jumping on technology like this. And it could be an interesting combination even to tie in something like this with what you just talked about with IRI and Meta.
Yeah, absolutely. Even more real time.
Even more real time. So there you go. So that's our show for this week, everybody. Thank you for listening and watching. You've been listening to episode 602 of Location Weekly. If you're in New York next week at NRF, reach out to Aubriana and I. We would love to connect with you in some way. If you have story ideas, let us know about those too. I did get one this week, by the way. So we will address that in an upcoming show. And we'll see you next week with another show. Have a great week, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.